everybody, it's Stormy Saunders here. It really is Stormy Saunders under this. They're making me wear one. What can you do? We're here at Bilsterberg, therefore we must be driving a new AMG, and it is the facelifted C63 Saloon. When AMG introduced this car, whenever it was, 3 years ago, 2015 I think, it was the most powerful and the most torquey car in its class, and also the only one with a V8 engine. 3 years later, it is still the most torquey car in the class and still the only one with a V8 engine. So you can see why AMG wouldn't be that minded to give it any more grunt, and it hasn't. So what is new? Well, there's a 9-speed automatic gearbox in place of the old 7-speed one that had a torque converter. This one's got a wet startup clutch instead. The car has a new torque vectoring system, which is called AMG Dynamics. It's got lots of lovely modes, as they do. It's also got a 9-setting traction control system, which, if you've driven an AMG GTR, will seem instantly familiar, because it's the same sort of thing. It has had some steering and some suspension tweaks, and there are various exterior styling and interior trim revisions as well. So the front bumper looks a bit different, and the rear valance has a new rear diffuser, new wheels, new radiator grille, yada yada yada, and inside you get digital instruments if you want them, some lovely new trims, material trims as well. The C63 is an interesting one, isn't it? Because you get a choice with this car. You can choose how much grunt you want. You can have either 500 and something or 470 something horsepower. You can choose a slightly firmer or softer setup between the standard and the S suspension. The change with this version of the car is that all versions now get the E-diff, the active torque vectoring rear diff that used to be the preserve of the S. So the old mechanical slippy diff of the standard car is now no longer. And you still get to choose between coupe, cabriolet, saloon and estate body styles. And it's the only car in the sort of super saloon niche that allows you to do that. I think that's quite cool. So how is it? Well, still a recognisably brilliant super saloon, I think. I mean, all of the things that were great about it before are still great now. The steering's really beautifully weighted and paced and tactile, and it sort of drags you into the experience by your fingertips. The car's got a lovely balance of grip, and it handles really nicely, but it still feels like a hot rod, you know? It still feels like a car that's totally dominated by its engine, and that's the appeal of it to me. You know, it doesn't feel like an Alfa Cloverleaf, it doesn't feel like a four-door that wants to be a sports car. It wants to be a hot rod. It wants to do skids and generally be a bit naughty, and that's cool. I really like it. Dynamically, if you want the ultimate handling version, I suppose you'd have the coupe, because it's got slightly firmer setup, it's got its own axle kinematics, it's got slightly wider tracks and wider tyres, and it's got a slightly lower profile body and centre of gravity. But, interestingly, it's the saloon that's the lightest one of the lot, and it's the saloon that I like. There's just something about the way it handles, and it just breaks away a little bit more progressively at the rear end, because maybe the body control's a bit softer and the track's a bit narrower and there's a bit less rubber on the road, so it doesn't sort of hang on as hard to then break away quite as suddenly, if that makes sense. I suppose in outright terms you could argue that the coupe handles better and grips harder and turns more keenly and all of that jazz, and I wouldn't argue with you. I just prefer the saloon. It's my idea of a C63. I suppose it is a bit puerile, but you know, I like what an AMG does, and that's what it does, isn't it? How's a 9-speed gearbox? Well, pretty good on track, because of course all you do on track is you retire the sort of top half of the ratios, so you don't use anything above fifth really. The engine's got great range, so you can go right the way through, and it pulls hard from sort of below 3 all the way through to sort of 7,000 RPM. On the road, I suspect it might feel a bit different. Probably moments on the road where you were driving in automatic and you might think, oh, do you know what, I quite fancy a gearbox with a few fewer ratios, because it just always seems to be minded to change gear. So where does that leave us? Well, do you know what? I have always liked this car. It feels like an old school AMG. It's still got the steel coil suspension, still got the rear wheel drive, whereas the bigger E-classes moved away from both things. There's an honesty and a simplicity and a tactility to it, which really appeals to me. It hasn't got the same immediacy and agility as that Alfa, but I don't think it matters, because this does what it does. It's still the old armchair with rocket boosters. It just wants to be naughty and do skids, and I don't really care how fast it is around a circuit or how hard it's gripping. You know, I just like it, and I like that it wants to do skids. I think that's all right, isn't it? And the funny thing is, those are the things that make it perhaps a bit more fun at ordinary speeds than an Alfa Giulia Quadrifoglio or a BMW M3 CS might be, you know, because those are serious performance cars and they have higher grip levels and better body control and they turn in more immediately and all of that, and they handle better, but they're just not as fun. This thing just wants to entertain you. And it sounds great, doesn't it?